great session in a beautiful backyard. Are you hungry?
Yes.
I know, me too. Give me a fist bump. There you go, good job. All right, Richard, what are we looking at today?
We'll be looking at probably our best work we've ever done.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's a nice big outdoor space.
For this concrete sidewalk right here?
Oh, we didn't do that. We don't know what that is. Yeah, it's got a pergola, big putting green, water feature,
Nice.
fire pit, TV area.
Oh wow.
landscaping.
Check this out. I like that black cap. Is this Unilux, was that Town Hall or whatever?
That's Mika, that's Echo Block.
Oh, that's Techo Blocks. Oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about, yeah. I just never laid it. Wow. This is amazing. Our green egg there. Is this nitro sand?
Yep, it's all nitro.
Wow, that's a nice big fire pit. So how long does it take to put in one of these putting greens?
A couple days.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never installed one.
Yeah, it's pretty much similar base as the patio. We don't put as much rock in, but the details are in cutting out the fringe, cutting the cups in, putting the cups in. For us, like this was a last minute add.
Okay.
And I think it helps break up the hardness up here.
Yeah.
And it just adds more to the entertaining space. You know, you got sitting around the fire pit or the kitchen, you can go down there and hit some balls.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was really key for us to include that in, you know, being close to the project where you could still be down here putting and enjoying all your friends and family and guests.
Yep.
Up top.
How long did this project take?
About 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, we did it in the spring, so we had some snow. We had
That was
some
this
rain.
year, right?
Yeah, this year. It looks amazing.
It is beautiful.
Yeah. And they wanted something really clean, something modern.
Oh, that's they got it. I've never installed the graphics wall either.
Oh, it's super easy.
There you go. A little bit too far. Is that water?
In the water.
Hey, good morning everyone. Welcome back to the Cost of Doing Business show. We are sitting in a beautiful, peaceful backyard early in the morning. Neighborhood isn't moving yet. And I'm sitting here with Richard Carroll in Indiana. It's good to be here, Richard.
Good to be here, man.
Yeah, thanks for being an amazing host.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, after I thought I was going to be sleeping on a couch, then I would just go to Holiday Inn instead. You know, that was great. So I appreciate you pointing me out to that hotel.
Yeah.
That was good.
Actually, he slept on, there's a swing right here he slept on. Yeah. It was really nice and cool. I had to come out and give him a blanket, and it was a good night's rest. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to actually meet you in person.
Yeah, you too, man.
Been hanging out on Instagram for a long time already, it seems.
Yep.
And it was really cool to come out and see this job that's not yet completed and underway. It's really, really nice. I can't wait to see it done, especially with that water feature.
Yeah, so we're going to put a waterfall back here. So we're going to have a nice little viewing area here. There's going to be a nice little fall that comes down towards the pergola. And it's going to be right off of those boulders. So it's going to be a cool spot to sit down and maybe kick your feet in the water and throw some stones in it. And
Yes, sir. Chip
coming
your,
to help, right?
right. We'll
Maybe.
talk about that.
Okay, later.
Depends what time of the year.
Off camera. Yeah. Okay.
We'll strike a deal.
Okay.
But well, hey, why don't we get into it? Let's even though people know you from Instagram and all that, let's just give them an intro. Who's Richard Carroll and who's RC Outdoor?
Yeah. So it's been a fun ride. We've been in this for about 4 years in June, so coming up on our 5th season. And before this, I was a landscape designer at a company, and I'd been with them for about 6 or 7 years, and was kind of comfortable in that position. Never really wanted to like branch off, and I discovered some business books, started diving into business, and ended up going to a couple of Techo Block showcases.
Okay.
Hearing Paper Pete talk.
That's what got you fired up.
Oh yeah. I mean that he's crazy. He's a wild man, and but yeah. So it was that, and I discovered Instagram, and I saw these guys who were building these awesome backyard spaces, and kind of just fell in love with it. And then I saw like how they were operating their business, and the business that I was working with, it was just like you started to see how bad the business was that you were working with, and the culture was bad, and we just weren't doing things right. And you tried to bring up things that would make the business better and make them operate better and be more efficient. They didn't really want to spend any money on tools, equipment, and you just start to see like how you're supposed to run a business, how it's best to run a hardscape business, how to be profitable, how to be efficient, how to be productive. And so like the more I dived into to Instagram, the more I dived into YouTube, started following a bunch of guys on YouTube, and just became obsessed with like backyard living and designing and creating these really cool spaces. And I think that like burning desire started around, I think, January, which would have been 4 years ago, so 2018, maybe 2018. And then from there I was just like, hey, how do I get into business? Like, how do I make this happen? How do I make this jump? And then from there, I just started telling everybody that I knew, hey, I want to jump. I want to start my own business. Like, if you know anybody, if you want a space, if you want your gutters cleaned, if you want your leaves raked, right? It was just whatever I could do to get into business, find some work. And then fast forward to June, I had some friends that were willing to give me a really cool job. It was a job that took us probably 3 months by myself. I had some part-time help as well. It was probably, I know we talked last night, I can't remember what the number was. It was probably $50,000, and I didn't charge.
That's pretty good for a first job, though.
Oh yeah. I mean, it had a massive L-shaped kitchen. It had a gas fire pit. It had sitting walls. It had lights.
I think I remember. I can picture that job. I know I know what you're talking about.
And it had 4 different levels. It had everything. So I learned everything about everything in that one job.
And that's why it took 3 months.
Exactly.
What would to put it into perspective, how long would that job take now?
I would say it would take us probably 6 weeks.
Okay, so you'd cut it in half.
Maybe 5 weeks.
Okay,
yeah.
so it was still a sizable project.
Yeah. And so, I didn't have any equipment, and it was worth jumping because I could get 3 months worth of work
right
on that one job. And I always joke.
You started Instagram right out of the gate, right on that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Posting pictures, posting
wow.
videos,
and what about the $50,000 price tag? Like what knowing what you know now with your running what it takes to the cost of running a business.
Yeah.
What would you say that job should be today?
Probably $100,000.
So double. So
yeah.
It took double as long, and it was half the price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the time, like I had
no
overhead.
Yeah. It was just you and your pickup, and
it was worth it because from that job I got hundreds of pictures.
Right.
And maybe I did that a little too long, where I wasn't pricing things good, but I don't regret that decision. I think it was a killer job. I learned literally everything. Still to this day, it's probably our second or third most complex job we've ever done.
Wow.
Just with the different levels that we had to go through and working with different types of materials on that job, it was...
Well, that's pretty incredible. I wouldn't necessarily encourage people to get into the complex stuff right on the first job, but the fact that you've done it
for sure.
And hasn't been a train wreck is a success.
For sure. It's still standing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, going back to your where you were an employee, I'm assuming, at your design job. How long did you say you were there?
I was there for about 6 or 7 years.
So when you were talking about that, like that reminded me of the conversation I had with Jeremy Swihart yesterday, where we're talking about retention and investing in your tools and all of that, like, and like just taking, people's suggestions. How do you create that culture where the employees, are contributing to better ideas, better efficiency, and all of that, and like that right there, your story right there is a perfect example, case in point of what Jeremy and I were talking about, where if you don't do that, your good employees will leave. Like the ones that could be there for 10, 20, 30 years and become lifetime career employees for you, they're hungry, they want to do things right, they want to grow. Like those people aren't super common, and when you do get them, if you don't provide and continue to grow and give autonomy, get good quality tools, you're going to lose them.
100%.
And that's exactly what happened to you.
100%.
And now you're on your own.
Yeah.
And
look at me now. You come to see me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Crazy. But no, like that's true. And I worked with this company that didn't treat their employees well, and I knew that when I got out, that's not how I wanted to do things, and I wanted to treat my guys, give them lunches. We're going on a big fishing trip into this year, company fishing trip. Just want to take care of them, and also I want to be able to get nice tools, nice equipment. I want to make it fun for them to come to work. Yeah, it will be exhausting. It's hard work, but at the end of the day, we get to ride cool toys, play with cool things, and hopefully make our job site safer, more efficient, and I guess more fun to be on and work on.
So what made that place not fun to work?
Oh man, it's a good question. It's a lot of things. A lot of it was the direct boss. It was the owner of the company. He had so much stress, so much on his plate that he couldn't focus on his employees. He couldn't take care of the guys, and it was just a really, really, really bad culture. Everybody hated being there. All the guys talked bad about everybody there. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things to it, but I think what I took from it is they just didn't treat their employees well. So that's why I'm always mindful of, like, I get into the rush of the business, and I'm so focused on getting the job completed and taking care of the customer. I'm always like, all right, hold up, Richard, like, your guys, So I'm always like, end of the day, I'm always like, thanks, dude. I appreciate your help today. Even though I'm giving them a paycheck, I'm giving them a job, I still want to, like, thank them for what they've done and just be mindful, like, that I am grateful for them and their help, because they go home and they're worn out and they're sore a lot of times and they're making sacrifices as well. I just want to continue to be grateful and thankful to them. And I think that's a huge part of it, because, not necessarily did I want a pat on the back when I was at work, but it felt great to be like, hey, good job, Richard. You
just recognized.
Yeah. So that's a big part of it. And so that's something I always try to be mindful of as we move forward with these guys.
Which makes me think, the term of, like, people don't leave jobs, they leave leaders.
Yep.
Which means that it's more than just buying the nice tool.
Yep.
Right. Maybe buying the nice tool expresses that appreciation. Maybe they were asking for it or whatever, But it comes down to treating people with dignity and respect and giving them a path to grow, like giving them a road to either rise up on or hang. What was the? So 4 years. That's not super long. I didn't even realize when I first got to know you kind of on Instagram that you were that new.
It's crazy. I know.
Because your projects are, like, they're beautiful, like, kind of have their own language, kind of out of the box, like, designs. Like, not many people. Well, I guess you had your 6-7 years experience at your other job. But yeah, not many. Like, your designs are they stand out. Like, you can kind of pick out an RC job.
Yeah. That's cool.
So, as you were growing your business, what was the most difficult thing you had to overcome?
I feel like the work came really natural. I mean, I think that I intentionally set out to do this to create different, unique spaces. And so, you know, I learned to say no a lot of times to jobs that didn't really kind of fit our style. And that didn't happen like year one. It was more like year two, kind of year two, then into year three. If we're talking like the hardest thing, it's definitely the business side of it. You know, I got into this wanting to build really cool stuff.
Yeah, you had a vision for the design in the backyard, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I didn't quite get the business side of it. I didn't quite know how to run a business, how to price jobs, and that is coming with time. But every year it's been a struggle to, except for this past year, we really started dialing our numbers. Thanks to SynkedUP. And no, but that's true. I'm not just saying that, but yeah, just the business side. Like I love the artsy side of it. I love creating things, but like I have to be good at business in order to do the stuff that I like to do, like building the cool stuff. So that was probably the hardest thing. And at the end of the year, I'd be like, man, like where's the money at? You know, what do we make any money this year? I mean, we did, just not. It wasn't.
You were paying your living expenses, but not really ended up with a profit.
Right.
Yeah.
Of all the work that we had done and seeing what we had done, it was just like, you know, man, I wish we'd have made a little bit more money, or, you know, we did some really cool work. But I think that's just the step you have to take in business. I think I wouldn't recommend it. Maybe I would, but like pricing things a little lower year one, maybe just to get a good portfolio. And that's exactly what I did.
Well, yeah, it is. Like you did the Instagram thing. Like you did that from day one, which that actually speaks to I even do it with SynkedUP. Like sometimes I'm like, what am I going to do a reel on? I'm in my office, right? And I'm not going to post. And we all kind of have that head trash, like, I'm not going to post. But like putting yourself out there and posting and getting is, you know, it's a huge part of branding. You're only going to sell what you show.
Right.
And if you're not showing it, like,
yeah.
So I think that, you know, alongside of everything you're saying about like pricing things right, like I think too, like getting over the head trash of like, oh, nobody wants to see I'm just starting, like people are gonna make, you know, they're gonna make snide comments on it or whatever. Just like just get over that and just put it out there.
That's true, and that was like I was really intentional about that as well, because I knew that the stuff was free. Facebook's free,
right,
Instagram is free. Like, why not get yourself out there, put your photos up, like. You got to put yourself in the consumer's head. Like, what do they want to see? Well, a lot of times I feel like contractors get a bad rap. You know, why don't we show the construction process? Why don't we show like step by step what we're doing? So that was one thing we got into, was showing, you know, hey, here's excavation. Here's how much dirt we dug. Here's a massive pile of dirt that we got from this patio, right? This is all the rock that we're putting. This is 28 ton of stone. This is us compacting the stone. So I think over time, doing that kind of stuff, showing the finished product, really helped us create a really good reputation, like online. And I think I was telling you last night, there's a guy that reached out who had been following us for 3 years on social media. And he's like, Richard, I finally have enough money to do my space. Here it is. You're my guy. Like, let's do something cool. You know,
that goes right to like when people do follow you online and then they're like, okay, I'm ready to do my project now. Like, they're not getting 3 bids. They're coming straight to you and saying, let's, you know, they're working with the artist.
Right.
You know, that trust and credibility is earned before they ever even call you.
Right.
It used to be back in the day that you'd call half a dozen people and kind of make a judgment by their time coming out to visit you.
Right.
Now it's like, no, you're kind of following them and getting to know them online, and that trust and credibility is earned before your phone ever even rings.
Yeah, and like I got chills just reading that message, because I was just like, that's why I do this. Like, this is why I started day one posting, and like it wasn't until maybe 2 years ago I started putting my face on Instagram, and that was a kind of nervous wreck. Put my ugly face on there, but my buddy Sean over at Premier Outdoor Living, we used to chat because I had a lot of questions about business and design.
He's an Instagram master.
He's a mega, so I can't even talk to him. He changed his number. And
yeah.
But no, I like his style, and so I see a lot of what we do in his style. And so,
you're right.
I was just like, hey man, like, what have you done? What are some tips? And he's like, put your face on Instagram. He's like, turn the phone around, put it on selfie mode. Even it's like once a day, people get to know you, they see your face.
That's interesting.
So customers associate RC Outdoor with, Richard.
You're right.
Richard. And so there's been times that I've gone and seen customers and they've been following us for years, and I go over there, it's like my first meeting with them, and I don't really know them, but I get over there and they're just like, Richard, how they give you a hug, and it's like they've known me for all these years, and it's just like, it's kind of weird, but it's just like, this is awesome. Like, this is how I kind of dreamed and how I planned it would go, and by the time you get over there, like you said, they're not getting 3 or 4 bids. They want you to do the job.
Yeah.
And at that point, money isn't as big of an option. You're bringing so much value because they trust the process, they trust what you're doing, they've seen your work.
Yep.
So at that point, they could get a low bid for, let's say, 50 grand, but you come in at 80, but you've went through all the steps, how you're going to build it, what you're going to do, what it's going to look like.
And they know that they have an expectation for following you, what they're going to look like. It's not like, well, what does this $50,000 or $80,000 bid give me? Like they already have an expectation. And I think like the whole, like back to your point about the whole Instagram, Facebook thing is like, back in the day with TV ads and all that, everything was so polished and so fake.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of like the stigma of TV.
Yeah.
It's so false. Like and like social media with Instagram stories and all of that is so like behind the scenes, get to know the person. We don't hide the like we show the dirt pile that we got from digging out the everything's just like, and so what happens is like, oh yeah, you have that 28-ton pile stone that's going in here, and then somebody might be doing a project with a cheap contractor and like, where's his 28-ton pile stone,
Yeah.
And it I think it helps the market, the clientele, get a little closer to the contract or the process and realizing that there actually is a difference. And that's why one bid might be 50 grand and another one might be 80 for the same backyard.
Yeah, 100%. 100%, man.
Because like here at Tussey, like it's a pretty rural economy. Like it's 3 or 4 towns that we serve that have 30 to 60,000 in population. There's not like, if people do get multiple bids, which is less and less with YouTube and Instagram, like we were talking about, but if people do get multiple bids, like we're often, like one time there was this guy that had wanted a backyard, he was describing it to us, our bid was 70, the next bid was like 30 something, and the bid below that was 6.
What?
Yeah, so the guy had 6, like he didn't get it at all. He was literally, he didn't get the homeowner's vision, but the $30,000 guy did, but he ended up going with us.
Yeah.
And so that the point is like, I think most artists that are doing these beautiful outdoor living spaces, quality work, like you should not be getting head trash about the fact that your competition's cheaper or that you're more expensive, because that's not what you're selling. You're not selling the cheapest backyard, you're selling the best backyard.
Yep.
And so when that bid comes in at what you would have been, say you were using paper and pen or your spreadsheets, whatever, and like, I did it for 20 grand, get into SynkedUP and it says, no, it's 28. It's like, just hit that send button.
Right.
And you'll be surprised. Like Josh Sutton was saying, like, just close your eyes and just hit that send button.
It's funny how that's hard. Like you get the build up and you're like, okay, do I hit? Oh, wait, let me go back and look at it. Do I hit send? And it's like, that's what's great about SynkedUP is that it just builds the number. I remember talking to Jeremy Swihart last year, and he was just like, I don't even look at the price sometimes. I do all the work, I just hit send, and it sends them the price. I don't know what it is, but it's right? Even if it's, $72,200.72.
Right.
That it is what it is. And I'm getting like, my blood pressure's going up just about hitting send. But it's crazy.
It's funny.
Yeah.
And then it comes back approved, and you're like, whoa!
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna do that again.
Right.
I'll tweak the profit up on this.
There we
go. The next one,
hike it up a little bit more.
So the thing is, I mean, people will pay. People are out there, and if you're running into people that won't pay, that's okay. We all want the lifestyle, right? But not everyone can afford it. Like, just move on to the next one. Just find the people that want what you want, consider it, see the value to pay your price.
Right.
And if I'm making 40 grand a year, no, I can't afford a $100,000 backyard.
Yeah.
You know, and so like you don't want to sell your job to me.
Right. Right. One of the biggest things I learned, I know we discussed it last night again, but like, you know, like the biggest thing probably I've learned is just saying no and being comfortable saying no, being confident in saying no. If you send that price for $45,702, that's the price. It doesn't come off $1. It doesn't come off $1,000. Like that's how much you have to sell this job for.
Yeah. Which to
And
get to that confidence, it's critical that you do know your numbers, because if you don't know your costs of being in business, all your overhead, if you don't know, well then that's exactly what erodes your confidence. And when the customer's like, "Can you do it for $5,000 less?" You're like, "Well, you don't. You just tacked on a markup," and you're like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it because I want the work."
yeah.
Right. But if you know your numbers and you're like, you take that $5,000 down, you're like, "Ooh, that's 2% net profit. No
Right.
way, I'm not doing that."
Right.
You know. So knowing, not guessing or having a gut feeling on your
Right.
numbers is critical to having that confidence to stand up to
Right.
those negotiators.
Because you can even go on the software and type in your price. You know, say it's 70,000, you can type it in, change price to 65. Now, I know
Right,
you know
right.
this, but then you can kind of see like how much your profit goes down and
Yep.
what you will be making if you made that. And right now there's so much work to go around. Like there's no sense
to do that.
to do that. And like on the other side, like if you drop that price $5,000, then the customer thinks you may have charged on the high end,
Yeah.
and they're thinking, "Oh, this guy's just lowering his price just like that, so he overcharged me," and now they don't have confidence in you as.
I've heard that actually.
You
I
know?
saw there's a guy on Instagram I follow called Sean Van Dyke or something.
Yeah.
He was talking about that, and that was a new thought to me. It's like, if you drop your price after you've given them a price,
Yeah.
like that's calling into question your trustworthiness.
Yeah.
You mean you just like had your price like inflated, and now you can
Right.
give me $5,000 off? Like,
Right.
yeah,
crazy?
it's crazy how that like we never really consider that when we're
Yeah.
like trying to win that job.
Yeah, and that's why I'm always like, hey, this is how much it costs. Like if you want it $10,000 less, then let's take some plants out. Let's take some lights out. Let's get rid of the
Yeah,
sitting wall.
negotiate
There's
on
ways
the
to
scope.
get that price down.
Yeah,
But-
there's nothing wrong with having a budget. Everybody has a budget, right?
Right.
But it's like, okay, your budget is 50 and my bid came in at 65. Well, then let's pull out that whole section down there with the fire pit and the circle patio. Like, just eliminate that. Now you got it.
Right.
And you're negotiating on scope. Then you realize that, do they really have the money, or were they just trying to negotiate with you? Because like,
Right.
oh no, I don't want to pull that fireplace out. I'll pay you the 65.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Right. Right.
Or if they legitimately, they maybe legitimately had that limitation, but at least you provided a solution for them.
Right.
You're not sacrificing quality. You're not sacrificing your profits. You're not sacrificing the livelihoods of your team and your family. You know. See, that's the other thing as we get into head trash. I think with as business owners is like we think, oh, I can make the sacrifice. I'll fall on the sword.
Yeah.
But like, it's not just you. It's your team and your family that are suffering or making that sacrifice with you.
Right. Right. And it's cool as a job that you might want to get, and you might have, and I've been there. I've been there like year 1, year 2, where I'm like, oh, their budget's $50K, but it's going to come around $70K. But I really want the job. I really want to do something cool here, and so you keep trying to like convince yourself that it's okay. And maybe that's cool year 1, year 2, but like year 4, year 5, like it's not cool.
Yeah.
Like I want to build a cool space, and if they say no, then they say no. Like I don't want to go into that job and knowing that I'm already under, my profits, and just not worth it. And the work's out there. It'll
Yeah.
come.
The other thing I think too is like, when you're getting close to wrapping the job up, there's always kind of like, man, it takes a whole day to clean up, or like
details.
the client is like, hey, that tree you planted's kind of little. I wanted a bigger one, or like they suddenly expect that you're going to power wash the whole driveway and because it got muddy and you want to count. All those things happen where if you're starving yourself and you sold it, you knocked that $5,000 off, you feel like you just can't. Like you're already barely breaking even. You can't even afford to go that extra mile.
Right.
Whereas if you stick to your guns in the beginning, you have that extra kind of fluff in there. Now you kind of have the liberty to just blow away their expectations. Like you have the time to spend a little extra time cleaning up, or give them that bigger tree, even though it wasn't in the contract or whatever. Like it just gives you that. And it's this cycle. It turns into this cycle where because you could give more, now they're even more blown away by you and your word of mouth. The whole thing just kind of feeds itself.
Yeah, I think from what we've learned, I think the more you can over deliver, the more value they think they're getting. So it may not be anything crazy. It'd be like, hey, Mrs. Jones, hey, we decided to extend your sitting wall an extra 3 feet because I think it really ties in better. I think it looks nice if it ends along this line. And if they think they're getting something more than what they paid for, like they're overjoyed. And honestly, we always have leftover block. We have leftover caps. There's always leftover material. So what, it took us an extra hour to extend that, like, because obviously once we're on site, we're always like changing and hey, I think we might do this. If it's a big thing, we'll want to get like a change order. But it's some of those small things, if we're putting in 100 lights, if we put in 3 extra on our dime, like it's not that big of a deal, right?
That's always how we've done it at Tussie too. It's like, yeah, man, now that I see it, I need that extra light over there, and just do it.
Just do it.
I'm not even gonna ask him.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can do that when you have that. say your minimum is you have to have a 10% net profit. We'll sell it at 15, so you have a little bit of that fluff.
Yep. Yep.
Or the other thing is, I think one of the biggest places it's easiest to screw up an estimate is in the man hours.
Oh yeah.
And when you're trying to sell the job, maybe you're not knocking the price down and knocking $5,000 off, but you're like, I'll do it in 180 hours instead of 200.
Yeah.
And it's just like.
So the Paver King, we all know the Paver King. Right?
Yeah.
He had this quote, and it's always stuck with me. He goes, "You can never shovel your way." He's like full of awesome quotes, by the way. You can never shovel your way to a better price. I might be butchering that quote, but it was just like, you can never work harder, work faster to get to that price that you undersold it for, right? You can't just like go in there and just shovel and kill yourself to get to that price. Because it's not like you can't run sprints when we're laying pavers. It's going to take 100 hours. It's going to take 100 hours.
Yeah.
So.
And I think like when you underbid it, like that affects the morale of the employees too. Like they know you're
stressed.
It just stinks.
They feed off of you. They feel you.
And so like when you're bidding it, it should be like not like if it goes well, we can do it in this time. No, do it what you know you can do it in, even with bad weather, even with unforeseen whatever.
Yeah.
Like bid it at that hours.
Yeah. That's why I hate when customers come to me and they're like, "Hey, can we get a ballpark?" I hate giving ballparks because like even a job this size, this scope, like it takes me a long time to figure out like how long it's going to take us. I mean, I'm literally on the project that we're currently on. I'm thinking about another job, and I'm like, all right, day one, we're going to come in, unload our tools, drop our trailer, meet with the customer, mark out the backyard. Right, that's already 2 hours right there. Pull the machines up, gas them up, start digging, and then it's on and on. Day two, maybe we're getting our stone in, we're compacting, and then it's like day three. Then on a job, it's more than 4 or 5 weeks. Like that's a lot of man hours, and a lot of that comes with time, knowing how long things take.
Are you using production rates at all?
I don't.
No.
I've
yeah,
never
like
used
that. You have enough of history now that you could go back through and look and get your production rates, and that really helps. Like at Tussie, what we did was, some people try to get production rates for excavation, screeding, laying, cutting, and it's like, I don't know. That's a little bit of an analysis paralysis in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like I want just the information that helps me make a more accurate decision or a better decision tomorrow. Like I don't want anything else as white noise.
Yeah.
So what we do is like we just kind of measure our labor from the time we pull the truck in till we pull off.
Yeah.
So that's breaking ground, cleaning up everything for like a flat, square footage of patio. And then we just divide the total man hours it took by the square footage of the finished product. And then there's your production rate. And then you do that over a dozen jobs and average it all out. Now you got something you can go on for,
right.
If it's 3,000 square feet, normally you do 500 square feet. Now you have a little bit of a production rate that you can use without like totally like mental gymnastics of trying to figure out how long it's going to take,
Right. And that's one of those things I haven't really like had energy to like put into. But I think eventually I'd like to dial some of those things in. Once we get like an administrator on board, they can do all this stuff I don't want to do, and I can focus on kind of growing the business more.
Yeah. No,
figuring out our production rates.
Yeah, it's not hard, but it does take some disciplining in gathering the data,
Yeah.
What would you say is one of the best pieces of advice you were given in business? Or life, for that matter.
Best piece of advice.
I didn't say you used it. I was just
Okay.
You know.
Well, hopefully I will use it. Best piece of advice. That's tough, man. I think it's just been talking with guys that do this, and it's honestly, like we said prior, to a couple of these questions, it's just learning to say no.
Yep.
Like, just stick to your guns. And there's been some jobs that I really wanted to build, and I thought it'd be so cool, we could post on Instagram, but the clients didn't want to go with that number, and I had to just be okay with saying no, right, and just going to the next one. I mean, right now we're only doing 15 jobs a year and I don't need a bunch of jobs, right? I only need 15 jobs to keep us busy. So, I think just saying no, just learning to tell a customer no, and maybe it's they fill out a contact form and you have to call them back and you're like, hey, I don't think we're a good fit, or we don't really do those type of jobs. I mean, it's hard to tell somebody no, right? It's hard to turn down business. But I think once I got to that point and I learned how to say that, it felt good, It's like, whew, okay, that's done with. Let's all move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I think the other piece of advice was, like, this is super cliche, but just have fun. Like, have fun with what you're doing, and I don't want to build just normal patios. Like, that's not what excites me. That doesn't get me going, and those aren't fun to me. What's fun to me is creating spaces like this. That's fun. I get to come to work and build cool stuff and not build your 12 by 18 patios.
Right.
And
Build them for the gram.
Yeah, there's
man.
nothing wrong with that. The guys that are doing that, and we do some, and we don't really post them. We just don't post the type of work. It's for.
Well, I think that's smart because you sell what you show.
Exactly. And that's why we don't.
Yeah.
But the more that kind of we get into this, the more the smaller jobs don't make sense. It doesn't make sense to show up for a 2-day job when we're accustomed to being on site 2 or 3 or 4 weeks on a site. So yeah, I mean, I take jobs that I want to build, I want to do, because I have to be out in the field, and I don't want to build like just normal stuff. And I think we've gotten to the point where we can do that, right?
Yeah.
We can do anything we want to do, and it's kind of cool. Like this dream that I had like 4 or 5 years ago, it's all coming true, and I'm building these.
Isn't that a good feeling?
Space. Oh man, it's not. Like, I still get chills. I still like. It's just crazy. Like, I'm super grateful that we've gotten, and we've had my employees have definitely like been I couldn't do without them, and I've got some great connections in the community who have really pushed my name. And you treat one customer good, right? You give them that extra 3 feet of sitting wall, they're gonna go tell all their friends and their family, and they're like, oh, well, follow him on RC Outdoor. He does step by steps. He shows all the finished products, and that's kind of like, so like 4 years, like, which would have been in June, like all the referrals are just like compounding on each other, and I'm just getting like so many things coming at me. So it's been fun. It's been a joy. It's still hard. I know that sometimes on Instagram we portray it as like this really like fun and exciting thing, and I don't show a lot of the bad because I don't like to focus on the bad. Like, our ditch witch broke down yesterday, and I did a story about it, whatever, but it's like, I don't want to focus on the equipment breaking down. I don't want to focus on the customer who's maybe calling us or emailing us at 8 o'clock at night. And I'm an optimistic guy, so I'd rather just, turn anything negative into a positive, anything that's negative into a challenge, and figure out how to come to a resolution over that. So I know a lot of guys, I've gotten hate before of people saying, oh, why don't you show all the bad stuff in business? Why don't you show all the, and it's like, I don't really want to, like, because the more you think about the bad stuff, the more you post about it, you could have that one consumer out there that sees that and like, oh, that guy's really negative. Like, I don't know if I want him on my job site. I don't think I want to deal with somebody like that. So we really try to portray a positive, and we don't fake it. That's just who we are.
I think there's a difference between being real and being negative and positive, like you're saying. Like, there is a difference. And like you did show your ditch witch breaking down, but there's a difference between being real and having a negative outlook.
Yeah, there's a couple guys that get on there on Instagram and just rant about customers, and I'm just like, why would you do that?
What if your customer sees that?
Do that? And I know they do, and it cracks me up at the same time because he's nuts. But it's just, why? Like, why are you doing that, man? It doesn't make any sense. Like, you never know who's watching. I'm super like conscious about what we put on there, what we post.
Yeah.
And I mean, we post about interactions, like with me and you, and this little sit down we're doing, and another guy's on Instagram. But really, I want to focus it on our clientele, our potential consumers, and really, I think about it. I'm intentional about what we post and how it would portray us in their heads.
Yeah.
So, man, we have fun. We do the Flamingo Friday thing. We
Yeah.
cut up and make
It's
jokes.
Friday then.
Yeah, we haven't done that this year. I
No?
don't know what's going on, but that's really the image we want to push out. We want to come across as fun, cool people that want to build cool stuff.
Yeah.
So that's one of our missions.
I think what's coming back to me more, again and again over our conversation here is the whole ability to say no. And it's back to the whole thing of it's a vicious cycle that feeds upon itself. If you're underselling your jobs, you don't have any fluff in there, then you're feeling desperate that you have to have the job. You can't afford to wait for the next lead or the next, opportunity. And so you take it. Whereas if you refuse and wait for the customer that can pay you the price that you do need for the scope of work that they're looking for, it's back to that cycle that feeds itself. Like, you say no and move on to the next one that can, and then you realize, well, hey, there's enough people that can.
Right.
That gives me more courage to say no to the next one when it's not really my core focus or whatever,
And it's not easy. I mean, it's not. I mean, I'm thinking about last year when we really focused on that and honed into it. I mean, there were times we were only booked out for a couple months, but I knew I just didn't want to take that job. I didn't want to focus my efforts. And like you said, the more you get known for the work that you do, the more work you do of landscaping, the more landscaping jobs you're going to get. The more, oh, Richard, just planted 3 bushes for me. I might do that for a past customer, but it's like, I don't want to go to somebody's house and plant 3 bushes. Like, I don't want to go there and aerate somebody's yard, So that was really when I decided to this is what we're going to do. Like, if we would have gotten where we were maybe a month out, we probably would have taken on some jobs, but the work always came.
Yep.
It wasn't easy. It's still not easy, but if you want to specialize and make a niche, and kind of what we've done, you really have to focus on that niche. Don't be a guy that does everything. But if you want to be a guy that does everything, that's fine. That's great. It's just not what we want to do.
Yeah, right.
And that's kind of how it's helped our process.
Talk about I know you've been using software before, SynkedUP. So talk about your journey and utilizing technology in your business. Like, what would you say to someone that hasn't yet utilized technology or is still in manual spreadsheets or whatever? Like, what would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, we talked yesterday and today about, you're like, Richard, have you done this? And I'm like, man, I don't have the time and the energy to put into that, right? I just don't have a lot of available time. And so with SynkedUP, it's super easy. Like, everything is in there. Like, an estimate takes, so much less time now. And, and people always harp on the price of things like that. And it's just like, dude, that just goes back into your budget. That just goes back into your budget, and then you end up charging the consumer, your customers, whatever that is. And
it's not your expense; it's your business's expense, which means it's your customer's expense.
Right, and that's been the hardest thing with people. Always like, I can't believe you're using that software, and I'm like, dude, and it's like you're trying to explain, no, you put it back in your budget, and but I mean, for me, it's been super easy. I mean, I go in there and punch out estimates. All the information is logged in there. For me, it's just knowing that my numbers are good and I've done all the numbers and I can go and look at it. I can go and change the numbers. If I hire a guy at $23 an hour, I immediately go in there and change. Hey, I got a guy, he's making $23 an hour. We're going to work another 6 months this year. So 6 months, we'll figure out some man hours, and then our price changes based on that, right?
Yep.
And so I think just ease, peace of mind, knowing that, it's all in that one system. The support at SynkedUP has been phenomenal. I mean, I was chatting with you about Fred, and Fred's been in the business. You're talking to people who are, like, you're a contractor, you're a past contractor.
Yep.
You get business. You know how long things take. The cost of equipment, and et cetera, et cetera. So the fact that I was able to jump on oh wait, what's the picture?
The budget.
The Zoom call.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Zoom.
it's
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
guy, you know, that y'all are willing to invest in Zoom calls to sit down with us and, you know, figure out, hey man, what equipment do you have? Oh, you got a Cat 302? Okay, how long have you had it? All right, so this is what I would do. Let's do this. Okay, you're probably gonna want to sell it for X amount in 5 years. And it's like having that experience with somebody who's done it, who's been there, was super helpful. And just changing over to SynkedUP in the winter, like drastically, like it was like a punch in the gut, because I was like, crap, like I was selling jobs for so much less last year. I was making so much less money. And like this past winter, like I honestly feel like I officially like know my numbers, right? So me holding up the SynkedUP cup. No, but it's real. Like it was one of those times. I was really trying to avoid talking with Fred because I was just like nervous. I didn't want to know how much money I was losing. I didn't know. It was just like, it was my gut. Like I can just feel like moving right now just thinking about it. But
It's funny. We fear what we don't know. Like once we don't know, we don't want to know, right?
yeah. And so he's like,
Do you ever go on vacation and like you're afraid to look at your bank account?
oh yeah,
You know?
oh yeah. I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but after talking with him, it was like, it was a punch in the gut. It was depressing, but it was also reassuring, knowing that moving forward, like we were on the right track, and knowing that I had support from a contractor, Fred. You know, he knows it. Like it was good. You know, and I knew I could like pick up the phone and chat with you or send you an Instagram message and, hey man, I'm trying to figure this thing out. Am I right? Am I wrong? Like what's going on here? So whatever, I don't know how much SynkedUP costs, but whatever it is, like it's so worth it. It's just peace of mind, knowing that it works, knowing I can go in there and type up estimates pretty quickly and use the time thing, which you're going to show me later on how to use the time thing.
Yep.
It's just a no-brainer. You know, whatever can help us speed up the process and make it easier, just take my money. Just take it all.
Yeah, whether that's a tool or a machine or whatever,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
How, like, so now that you're what, 8 months into that 8 months, 9 months into that process, like, how has that impacted your bottom line?
Oh, significantly. I mean, I would say, if we're talking bottom line, I mean, I bet we're gonna, you know, at least 70 or 80K more this year. Like if we're talking real numbers, like net, even up to 100. Like that's how far off we were last year. So that's about how much I was leaving on the table. So last year, you know, we're talking.
Yeah, for a software, let's say you're leaving 100 grand on the table compared to last year's pricing, right?
Yeah.
Or 70, 80, whatever it might end up being. For something that costs you 4 or 5 grand a year.
Right. That's it.
If I told you I could go get you a stock on Wall Street that has a 20x return, you'd be all over it.
Right.
So you spend 4
100%.
or 5 grand for a tool,
exactly,
and increase by 100 grand or 80 grand or 70 grand. You know, it's just like, it's unreal.
And like whatever it costs, 4 grand. I mean, you're paying. You know, a skid steer is going to cost you 80 grand. Like it's going to help you. This is going to help your business just as much as anything else is. And so, if you look at it like that, it's like, why am I not investing in this? And why am I not doing this? But yeah, I mean, even like total revenue. I mean, we're still at 3 guys this year. We were at 3 guys last year. I think our revenue is going to go up almost 200 grand.
That's incredible.
I mean, yeah, we're getting more efficient, we're getting faster, we're getting better at our jobs, and we're still getting yeses. We're still getting signed contracts at that, you know, higher price. Yeah, we get more leads, and we're saying no more often, but it feels good to know your numbers.
That's right. There's nothing better than knowing. It's like once you know, the sense of relief that you feel, like that, you know, back to that helps you say no,
right.
You know, no to the bad jobs. But yeah, having your revenue at 3 guys, that's incredible. Like that's really, really efficient. Like I kind of like to see a 200 grand per employee in the design build business, and you're above that, you know, which is awesome.
Yeah, and that goes back to like being on social media and being willing to expose yourself. You know, like I mean, any contractor now, like if I need to get my roof redone, they usually don't have an Instagram page. You're just kind of like shooting in the dark. You're having 3 guys come out. But if there was a guy that was like, "What's up, man? I'm Mike with Mike's Roofing. Is on top of the roof," and I'm like following him, I'm probably going to pay more for that guy, right? I like the guy. He's cool. He's funny. I'm seeing how he's doing the whole process. And I think at that point, like you said, price isn't as much as an option, and you end up getting the jobs you want for the dollar amount you want.
Well, I just want to say thanks for being a part of the SynkedUP crew.
Yeah, man, love it.
It's been an honor to have you on for for the journey.
Appreciate you coming out to my house and sleeping on the bench outside.
Yeah. But you know, like one of the things that I am so grateful for in the last year is like you, Josh, Jeremy Swihart, like all these guys that are pretty influential on Instagram coming on and talking about us, and like it's had a real impact on our ability to achieve what we're going out there for. So it means a lot to me, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. I'll tell you where to send the check off
Sure.
camera.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's a product I believe in. I know we get referral fees and stuff. Everybody gets referral fees.
Yeah, it's like there's no influencer. Just to be clear, there's no
Yeah.
influencer program at SynkedUP. It's like I don't care if you're a nobody with 0 following, just getting started. You don't even have to be a SynkedUP customer. You can sign up for the referral program.
Right. Everybody gets their own code.
Yeah.
You can broadcast, and so yeah. I mean, I definitely want to help people. I get a lot of questions about people, asking for help, and that just comes, get a bunch of DMs on that, and it's a product that I believe in, and it works. It's the results. I mean, we just talked about some of the results just from this 1 year of using it. So it's a real system that really works, and I think it's something that could help all contractors, and that's why I push it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, and I got to say, like, you're doing some. You definitely have your own design language. You have a distinct style in your projects that I like. You're doing good revenue for 3 guys. That's really efficient, and like you got a nice thing going here. So, congrats! And in 4 years, there's people
Crazy.
that when I started at Tussey, they were in business for 17 years already, and we were doing like 700,000, with probably more like 8 guys.
Yeah.
That's a pretty poor ratio. That's less than 100 grand per employee.
Right. Right.
But yeah, at Tussey, they're in business over 30 years now, and the last 8-10 years is where that really kind of ramped up. And but yeah, YouTube and social media has been a huge, that right back to people were not even getting another bid.
100%.
They're coming right in there and just saying, hey, we want you.
Right.
Or they're calling from out of state saying, can you come down? It's pretty cool.
It's crazy. Yeah, and I mean, it's all been hard work. It hasn't just come easily.
Yeah.
Like it's been really, really, really hard. But
well, every business requires sacrifice, and
Right.
it's back to what you're saying. Like there's the long, hard road to slog behind the Instagram stories.
Oh, yeah.
But keeping it positive, keeping it real, helping people. That's what gives it meaning and gives it purpose.
yeah, maybe we'll start a slog account.
There we go.
I don't know, maybe not. We want to be positive. No slog account, sorry.
let your guys run the slog account.
Yeah,
Richard's
yeah.
slave driving out here
He's
today.
awful. Don't get him nowhere for you.
Well, hey man, thanks a lot. It's been great.
Yeah, man.
Ready for some breakfast?
Let's go.
Let's go get some pancakes.
Let's go.
All right. Have a great Saturday, everybody.
Peace out.